What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and we are finally here. Welcome to the last episode of Jets Latest before we are reacting to regular season action with Aaron Glenn as our head coach, with Justin Fields as our QB1. The Glennaissance is upon us. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited, judging by the comments, and you guys are excited, judging by the growth of the channel. Thank you to everybody who subscribed, watches the videos, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. If you want to become a Jets Latest insider, you can click on that link in the description and you will get access to even more content, exclusive videos, inside tips on sports betting and fantasy football. You know that's how I came to it, but let's get it going. We start here in week one, unfortunately, with an injury report, right? And we'll do this before every game of the regular season, so you know who's up, who's not, and what the impact may be. And like I said yesterday, the biggest news is, of course, Elijah Vera Tucker is down, and it looks like he's down for the entire season with that tricep injury, the opposite arm from what he sustained in 2022, right? So we know AVT is going to be out. Otherwise, the Jets look relatively healthy. I mean, Sauce is on the injury report with that calf as questionable, but he's going to go, right? We got the swing tackle, Okorafor. He looks limited with a hand, but he should be fine. Remember, he is a backup anyway, right? Remember, what the Jets are probably going to do, and they practice this in the training camp, right? And over the summer, when John Simpson was out, right? He was another guard. And when he was out, what they did is they moved Tippmann to guard, and they then had Josh Myers be there at center. And remember, at times this summer during training camp, people were talking about a center battle, right? So we'll see how much we actually lose if Myers goes to center and Tippmann goes to guard. I think that is ultimately what they are going to do. Other than that, all we really have is Tyrod Taylor. Remember, he had that procedure in training camp with the knee. He is probably not going to play, but hopefully we don't need him to play because we have, Justin Fields healthy and taking all the snaps. On the Pittsburgh side, they're going to be without their rookie defensive lineman, Derek Harmon, the kid out of Oregon. He suffered a knee injury, and they have a linebacker listed as questionable with a knee injury as well. But that's really about it. I mean, it's week one. Everybody's going to be relatively healthy. Obviously, the big news is the AVT injury, but other than that, we look to be at full bore. I don't think there's any concern really with Sauce Gardner and that calf injury. You heard Aaron Glenn literally a week ago or so say that he was just fine. The biggest narrative here in week one against the Pittsburgh Steelers is that Justin Fields going up against his former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers going against his former team with the New York Jets. But honestly, everybody has been downplaying it all week long. You heard Aaron Glenn not wanting to talk about Rodgers. You heard guys like Sauce and Jermaine Johnson saying, listen, we going after him just like anybody else. And listen, Justin Fields is saying the same thing. Listen to what he had to say when he was asked if there's any hard feelings about the Pittsburgh Steelers. He goes, not at all. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. I was in a spot last year where I was able to see the game from a different perspective. I learned a lot from Russ, so not at all. I considered it, meaning returning to the Steelers, but like I said, AG, playing against him for the first few years of my career in the league, excited to change the culture here and get things going. So that was the most appealing thing to me. Remember, Fields was successful at the beginning of the year, last year with Pittsburgh. He went 4-2 as a starter, okay? He accounted for 10 touchdowns and only had 1 interception, right? So there were people in the Steelers locker room, there were people in the Steelers fan base that were a little bit upset when they went to Russell Wilson, and you could understand maybe how Fields would have hard feelings, but he has moved on. He wants to be part of that Glennaissance, and quite frankly, I have been talking about it all summer, and so for some of you new subscribers or viewers here to Jets Latest, I truly believe that Justin Fields is going to be another one of those second act quarterbacks, okay? It is so different when maybe a high draft pick peters out in their first few organizations, but then comes to a place where the organization believes in you, where the organization builds around you. We have seen this a ton. We saw it with Baker Mayfield, okay? And now he's in Tampa and winning division titles. We saw it, I make a lot of comparisons to the Detroit Lions. We saw it with Jared Goff, where Jared Goff gets traded from the Rams to the Lions as part of a throwaway pretty much with the Matthew Stafford deal, right? And then how they organized around him. If you saw that Netflix series, The Quarterback, you saw Goff and Dan Campbell really get emotional about believing in him, right? In Detroit. And the way we are doing with Justin Fields, that's why I say we all have to believe in Justin Fields as well. But I said it all summer long. Justin Fields has improved his completion percentage every year in the league. His quarterback rating every year in the league. His percentage of drives that lead to scores every year in the league, to the point where he has been above average in that. So if he takes another step forward under Angstrand with a run game, right, with an offensive line, even down AVT, I think we will be okay with Justin Fields. And remember, it's a 2-year below market value deal. Shout out to Darren Muji for doing that. And I get it, man. You want to be the man in something new, something building, as opposed to just kind of the bridge quarterback in a place where they benched you after a few games, right? And that pride building is something that Aaron Glenn has talked about consistently since the day he was hired. Remember, Aaron Glenn is a former Jet, went to 2 Pro Bowls with the Jets, was a first-round pick back in the 90s, and he was asked what would define success for him, right? Everybody's talking about wins and losses. Can the Jets make the playoffs? Will they win 11, 12, 13 games? No, that is not the priority. Remember, we talk about the Glennaissance. This is a turnaround situation, okay? Jets fans, you know the deal. This Jets organization has not been good for a while, right? Not since the Mark Sanchez back-to-back championship games, Chad Pennington before that. I'm going to tell you, we need to cure the disease before we can go run a marathon and contend and win. One step at a time. I talk about patience here. I talk about kind of building a culture, and that's kind of what Aaron Glenn was saying. He was asked what would define success for this year, for the 2025 green and white. And here's what he said. I want to be a team where the fans will look up and say, we're proud of that team. If they say that, I'll be happy because I know the wins will come. And I really believe that that's the situation, right? That's why he talks about things like cleaning up the undisciplined mistakes and the penalties. That's why he talks about things like getting competitive nature and physicality and aggressiveness and football IQ in the building. You've heard a lot of Jets talk about that maybe wasn't there in the last regime with Saleh and Douglas, right? And that's why they're getting young guys that have flashed with talent but are coachable. This teaching, we are building it from the ground up. Shout out to Sharon McLean, who calls it the Glennaissance, right? But let's take this step by step and let's have some patience. The other thing about the pride that I talk about, he brought in former Jets to be there at training camp, right? And one piece, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Aaron Glenn is one of 5 head coaches in the NFL right now that were players for the team they are now coaching. Aaron Glenn with the Jets. And think about some of the consistencies here. Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. We make comparisons to Detroit all the time, that culture building. DeMeco Ryans in Houston. Think about how they turned that around in a couple of years and the kind of pride there now. Jim Harbaugh, the way he operates with the Chargers. And of course, Mike Vrabel up north in our same division trying to do the same thing. I think that is a big key for these Jets. So let's be patient. Let's be proud. And I agree. If I'm doing Jets latest episodes in January and February, and people are talking about, you know what, I'm proud of this team. I see where we're going. And if we can say, yeah, Justin Fields is our quarterback, I think that's a win. I've said it on Jets latest before. I think we win 9 games. Is that going to get us in the playoffs? Maybe we're competing for a wild card spot in December. I do think we go over the 5.5 win total posted by the books because nobody believes in the Jets, Jets. But I'm not trying to aim. My goal is not 12-5. My goal is not the AFC Championship game. We got to crawl before we could walk before we can run. But I do think we are primed to do so. There are certain advantages I think we have against the Steelers in week 1. I think we could attack Jalen Ramsey. I still think this offensive line is going to be physical. We know Aaron Rodgers is not a mobile quarterback. We're going to bring the heat. Literally, outside of DK Metcalf, what kind of pass-catching options do they have that are really scary to you? None, in my opinion. We put sauce on DK Metcalf to shut that down, and then let's see what they can do. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be able to move the ball, and I think we're going to be able to punch them in the mouth. I think the Jets get a season-opening victory at MetLife Stadium, and quite frankly, it's important because after this, it's Buffalo and Tampa, 2 division winners on our schedule. We all know that schedule is tough to start, start. So let's get this one in the home opener and keep the feelings going so that the fans have a little bit of, optimism and can still be patient. That'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest, but let's see what you guys and gals are saying. Remember, you could become an insider. Click on the link in the description. You could get all sorts of exclusive, benefits, content, stuff like that. But I love engaging with you guys. MG8812 says, keyword, bro, patience. Absolutely. That's the way I think we need to be. Cautiously optimistic. Let's see what it looks like on the field at MetLife. Via and Jim says, I would love to feel and be optimistic with this team, but year in, year out, they disappoint us. I agree the run game is going to be a strength, but all these other teams have a solid QB that can air it out downfield. Fields has not solidified that he is that guy. He's shown glimpses, but he hasn't taken the full leap. He's the X factor. And if he could be as good as we need him to be, we could be a playoff team, he says, because the coaching staff is noticeably different. Now, I agree. It's all going to come down to if Justin Fields is our franchise quarterback. That's why I said that almost defines success more than the wins and losses, right? Pride, sense of confidence and optimism in the direction of the team and in Justin Fields. I think his dual threat nature is not to be diminished here in this day and age of the NFL. I think he has shown growth. I think with the guy like Tanner Engstrand, there's going to be some creativity in the play calling. And I hope that that's the step that we take. But your point is well taken. Tank NYC 123 says, since Brees is a great catcher, we can move him around the offense, whether it's the slot or a two-back backfield along with Braylon Allen, have him doing a lot of routes. He will create mismatches against linebackers. I agree. I like that. I think that's part of the creativity we're going to see. I think we're going to see Brees Hall and Braylon Allen on the field at the same time. And that's part of why I think the wide receiver 2 position isn't huge, because we're going to have Brees. We're going to have Mason Taylor as well, creating mismatches against linebackers and safeties. So I agree with that. And then we'll finish it off with Old Dave 1000. Shout out to Old Dave, a day one Jets latest kind of guy. Says, I hope the bets for the Jets and their fans this year go Jets. I think that embodies everybody. We'll see what it looks like here on Sunday at MetLife against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will be back here on Monday to talk about it, to talk about the highs and the lows, hopefully for the 1-0 Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, Jets, Jets. But if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, remember, I'm also the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM channel 87. So if you want to hear from me before the ball is in the air at MetLife on Sunday, you can check me out on Sirius, and we get you ready for fantasy football, okay? I'm doing everything to help you win your leagues and win that cash. Thank you so much to everybody who has found this channel, engages with this channel, and appreciates this channel. I love talking about the green and white. I love engaging with you guys, and we are going to be here all season long. And what should be a pretty fun season, and hopefully we can look back and say this was the beginning of the Glennaissance. I'll be back here on Monday to talk about everything that went down against Pittsburgh. But for now, we're out of here. Peace.